Funky Politics.
Funky Politics Education Reform Series is presented by the National Civil Rights Museum, sponsored by Memphis Education Fund and Southwest Tennessee Community College. We'd like to thank our media partner, Chalkbeat Tennessee.
You are listening to Funky Politics, powered by the Kazukia Network. You got DC here, and Doc Ward. How are you doing, Doc?
Wonderful, wonderful. Did you have a good weekend?
I had a wonderful weekend.
Wonderful weekend?
Yeah.
Hung out, did some great things?
No, I think I hung up in a bar or something like that. I'm not quite sure.
I think I had a pretty good weekend with my kids.
The Steelers lost,
but you know what?
So I'm upset.
Well, I mean, somebody's got to win, somebody has to lose. But I spent a weekend in a place where I think at least 3 or 4 children were murdered.
Wow. South Memphis?
In a city where at least 3 or 4 children were murdered. Yeah. And I just thought to myself, it was already bad enough that these were young adults or young children.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking about the young children that saw those young children and what they're going to have to spend the rest of their school year and the rest of their lives, you know, thinking about and dealing
Remembering,
with.
Yeah, that's right.
Because of what they saw and what they witnessed. And I think we've got somebody here today that really talks about that, and not just talks about it, but works with it and understands it, and is trying to help us as a society define the concept of it.
So we got somebody who talks a talk,
right, walks
a walk,
right,
and does the application part of it as well.
Yeah, we always got the walkers, not just the talkers.
Not just the talkers.
If we just had the talkers, it'd just be you and me.
And, that's bad by itself.
Or just you.
Folks, let me tell you, we've got Ellen Rolfes. Yeah. She's the executive director of the ACE Awareness Foundation, and welcome to the program. Ellen, how are you?
I'm fine. Yeah. Really appreciate this invitation.
Yeah.
Oh, look, as a part of our education series, you cannot talk about education with respect to K through 12 if you don't bring in experts like yourself who can help us dissect some of the issues that are affecting young people even before they get to school.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, and right. I think this is a great time to talk about, you know, what is ACE and the role that ACE plays, and where is ACE going tomorrow, so to speak. Unfold that thing for us.
Happy to do it. ACE stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences, and they've been in us always. It starts the beginning of our life when our brain starts developing in the brain architecture, and it's an ongoing process. And if you have a healthy home and a healthy life, your brain develops normally. But if you're experiencing days and days of this ongoing toxic stress, it becomes an adverse childhood experience. And it literally changes the expression of your DNA.
Wow.
And that can actually be passed on to your children. So we're dealing with the root causes of so much that is really wrong with our society. And, you know, it's been there always. It's just we never had a language in which to talk about it and frame it until we started using the word adverse childhood experience.
When you talk about adverse childhood experiences, you said it occurs with everybody.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Are you basically saying that the worth of our society is determined by just how, you know, what we all experience as kids? Because everybody's got something that probably happened bad. What distinguishes just, you know, me being in a fight when I was in kindergarten with what we consider an ACE that's actually affecting the kid in the long run?
That is definitely stress. Mm-hmm. But it's not toxic because it ends. It's when it's over a period of time that the damage is done.
Right. So not the normal things that kids get into every day, but we're talking about more serious things like we talked about with the kids that were murdered over the weekend, or with someone that may be in a home where there's a toxic relative or parental figure or someone that creates issues there.
Physical or mental.
But not necessarily just abuse. It could just be a situation that may not be abusive, but just something that's disturbing to a child that continues to occur.
Well, ACEs are obvious things like if you've been in violence and if you have incarceration that's part of your family fabric, if you've had literally domestic violence or having child abuse, any of the heinous things that can occur in a family. But one of the most subliminal ACEs that exist is the attachment theory, where the child and parent did not bond.
Wow.
And you can't put your finger on it, you just know it. And that child grows up feeling alone and not part of this world. And that is one of the most damaging ACEs of all. And it's not in targeted populations. It is not in underserved people. It is everywhere, and it's in all cultures. Now, some people have more resilience than others,
Right.
and they can grow up and overcome such adversities. But the one thing that has been proven to mitigate ACEs and help them go away or be healed is an enduring long-term relationship with a caring adult.
You are listening to Funky Politics, powered by the Kazukia Network. We're visiting this evening with Ellen Rolfes, the Executive Director of ACE Awareness Foundation. And you just said something that's key to me. I think a lot of people believe that you just must have, in order to have a family dynamic, you've got to have the birth mother in the home, or you've got to have the birth father in the home. But the key to me, and I think what ACE is probably has done and is doing, I hope, is saying that if you've got a caring, loving adult present in the home, parent, grandparent, aunt, uncle, adopted.
Be the next door neighbor.
Yes. Then you at least have a chance, Doc Ward.
That's right.
I mean, you got a chance at this thing.
Well, I think that's what she's saying. You have to have some kind of connection.
Yeah, that's.
But I guess my issue, though, also is still that when you have the caring adult, but you may have the other adult that that's creating the ACE. And I'm not going to even say it's abusive, because you might not be, that person might not be abusive.
Yeah,
that other person just may be that relative. And picture this: grandmother, mother's brother, your uncle, and you live in the home.
Yeah.
Uncle stays in and out of the legal system, constantly going back and forth. The police are at the home picking him up constantly. He may not be doing anything at all, but you know how it goes. Once you get in, it's hard to get out.
That's right.
That kid is seeing that every day and seeing police come over there and do whatever, sometimes right, sometimes maybe differently. That creates something that sticks with that child over time.
Or you could be in a home with two parents.
Right.
And they just never paid you any attention.
Yeah,
They just ignored you.
They sit there and look at their smartphones like kids look at their smartphones now.
Well, it's kind of like the kids do.
Everybody's just
a flip.
Or they're working so hard that they're not necessarily giving the child what he or she needs.
So my question then, Ellen, if the ACE Awareness Foundation is set up, and I'm assuming that you've got programs in place that addresses maybe not all of these issues, but I guess at a point they can attack one or two here at a time, and then we start building? Is that what ACE does?
That's what we do.
Okay.
But I did think it's important to know how this happened.
Yeah, that's what we wanted to get to that.
Because it's a national movement. It's really a social movement.
Right.
And it started about 20 years ago. There were these two doctors that were running this obesity clinic. And this morbidly obese young woman came into the clinic. She was almost 400 pounds. And they worked with her, and they got her down to like 140 pounds. And she looked great. She got a new outfit, cute haircut, got a great job. And a man approached her in the office just in a very polite way and said, "Would you like to go to the movies sometimes and have dinner?"
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, she didn't go, but all of a sudden she started gaining this weight, and the doctors thought, maybe something is really wrong with her. In fact, she gained weight so fast, they didn't think it was humanly possible. Well, when they really got down and did some deep psychological talking to her, she was being abused in her home by her grandfather. That's what she grew up with. And the romantic potential of that man, who was just a gentleman asking her to go to the movies, scared her to death. And so they started thinking, if this is happening there, what other things are triggering this behavior in people? And that was the beginning of ACE. So they did a survey, and it was really for middle-class white people in California. They did a survey called the ACE survey, the first one, and found out that the statistics were staggering of ACEs, different things that had happened to these families. So people across the country started doing ACE surveys, And we in Memphis got wind of it. There's a woman that really started our movement named Robin Carr Morris out in Portland, and she wrote 2 watershed books called Ghosts from the Nursery and Scared Sick. And it's talking about this language of ACE and how it impacts the home.
You are listening to Funky Politics, powered by the Kazukia Network. In our studio this evening, we've got Ellen Rolfes, Executive Director of ACE Awareness Foundation. Please.
Well, we got Robin to Memphis, I assure you.
Oh, no doubt you did.
And turns out we formed a task force, our foundation formed, and we have this amazing task force of 40 community leaders, like the public defender, both the mayor's on it, the governor's wife, and all the community leaders that are realizing that ACE is the root cause of so much that's wrong in a culture of all areas of our city and really our country. And so we did our own ACE survey, and we found out that 52% of people that were surveyed, there were 1,500 families were surveyed from every zip code, phone survey, and that 52% had at least had one ACE in their life. 37% had witnessed someone shot or stabbed. 20% said that they didn't feel safe in their home or their neighborhood. And 12% said they shared a home with someone who had been incarcerated. And 20% reported having experienced childhood sexual abuse. And that was in Memphis, Tennessee. So we knew statistically we were there. We had to do something about it. And our work is all neuroscience based. And it turns out that we've discovered, and it's proven statistically, that these ACEs are the cause of all chronic adult disease. Like they can, if you have experienced ACEs for a long period of time and you never dealt with it,
Diabetes, heart disease, everything.
Hypertension,
wow.
Every one of them, cancer.
Oh, wow.
And so it becomes really a health care issue, not a social service issue. That's the first leg of the stool. But then you go into another leg of the stool, which is the justice system. And so much of the families that are incarcerated have had horrible ACEs in their life. And you begin not making an excuse for the behavior, but you begin looking at it through a new lens because you see it was what happened to the individual that caused, it was the ACEs that caused the behavior. It wasn't the behavior, it was what caused it that made them do what they did.
You are listening to Funky Politics, powered by the Kazukia Network. We're visiting this evening with Ellen Rolfes, Executive Director of the ACE Awareness Foundation.
Come on and ride on the front now. Come along and ride on a fantastic voyage. Come along, ride the funky land. Come along and ride on a fantastic.
This is DC and Doc Ward talking to you about a great opportunity available for you at Southwest Tennessee Community College.
You can get a business degree. You can open doors to a wide range of opportunities. Engineering and information technicians are in demand to help power manufacturing and logistics. And paralegal studies, man, those majors are in big demand right now. Register now for spring classes starting January 17th. Call 901-333-4399. A wide range of programs for the most in-demand careers are just another reason. Southwest Tennessee Community College is your best choice.
In Memphis, there are 116,000 very important young minds. 20,000 of them attend schools in the bottom 5%.
The Memphis Education Fund partners with committed organizations to give these students access to an equitable education.
Their partners work to operate quality schools, recruit, retain, and develop effective teachers and leaders, ensure community voice, and support the needs of the whole child in Shelby County's priority schools.
This is the story of a great people, of hopes and dreams, of challenge and change. It's an American story. The story and struggle that started many centuries ago lives today in the halls and on the walls of the renovated National Civil Rights Museum. Enter the Supreme Court Halls of Justice, sit with Rosa Parks on the Montgomery bus, hear Mahalia Jackson sing at the March on Washington. Plan now to visit the National Civil Rights Museum at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee. For more information, log on to civilrightsmuseum.org.